Hello everyone, this is Gilbert Jalad. I'm talking to you here from Private Corporate Counsel sponsoring Tufts on Tax, where all your tax issues and tax questions are answered right here with Mr. T. Scott Tufts, as we always do. Now you can call him at 877-647-7887. Again, that number is 877-647-7887, or you can email him at stufts@cplspa.com. Again, that's stufts@cplspa.com. And also you can email him at stufts@pcc.law. Hello, Scott. How are you?
Good to be with you.
Good to be with you too. And today, we have a hot topic which everybody's talking about now, and it's getting attention, which is cryptocurrency and digital assets. So, what can we say about this today?
Yeah, so we're at tax time, and we're coming up on April 15th, and the time to file. There's a question on the tax form that will ask, have you engaged in any transactions involving virtual currency, which would include, this cryptocurrency and NFTs and whatnot. And so the question is, okay, so crypto is something that we've talked about before.
Yes, you mentioned that about the form and what to put on the form.
And so what we've got now is this kind of idea of what's happening out there, and what people may be confused about is, and I've used the analogy of getting onto a highway, and then you're in cryptocurrency, and you don't exit the highway. Therefore, the theory is that should not be taxed, because it's kind of in a self-contained world, and therefore, until you exit, you would not have gains or losses to report. Understood? So if I go into the virtual currency with $1,000, and I exit the virtual currency highway with $5,000, I would have a $4,000 gain. It would be long-term capital gain if it was held for a year or more. Less than that, it would be short-term capital gain. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Now, what happens, though, is that inside virtual currency, there are different types. You have Bitcoin, Ethereum, and different types. So what people don't know, or probably don't know, is that if you go from one account to the other, exiting the actual type of account, then you've also got to look at that issue of whether you've had a gain or loss. Okay, that's what you've heard me in the past refer to as a hard fork. Okay,
correct. Yes.
Now the other issue for folks is that if you're involved, and so the highway part of it is called hodling, I guess. I'm not sure if I know that term, but I believe they call it hodling. But it's the idea that nothing has happened on the highway where you've exited an account. Okay. Meaning that you're still in the performance of going up and down, no different than holding a stock. Got it?
Oh, wow.
So that's different. That is a different ball game than looking at staking or lending, selling, or mining. Okay. So these are terms of art that our audience will know in that environment of, are you staking, lending, selling, or mining, or are you just hodling? And have you had a hard fork occur? Soft forks are within an account, and that's not taxable.
Can we remind the audience about the hard fork?
So hard fork, again, is what I'm talking about, going from Ethereum to Bitcoin or whatever the type of account.
Correct.
You're going from one to the other where you can have a traceable performance that is capturing a gain or loss based on how long you held it. So you're going to use Schedule D Form 8949 and kind of track those assets. You should be doing that anyway. The ledgers do it obviously for you, so you can do that. And as I understand it, some of those services are very helpful on that. So, that's kind of what we look at. So as we come up on tax time, you're going to want to watch the performance of your virtual currency, be prepared to answer yes, and go from there. Obviously, the greatest concern is if it says yes or no and you have engaged in virtual currency, that's a real no-no. Because you answer no and you did, then you've got a problem. And it can be a very serious problem, can even be potentially criminal. Because if you've been engaged in it, but you don't disclose that on your tax form, that could be a problem.
So you could go to jail for that?
Yes,
but not be fined?
Well, it could
Or
be
both?
both. It could be
Wow.
both. And we know that because from the experience with foreign bank accounts, the same question came up. We've talked about that. You have a yes/no box on foreign accounts. If you have signature authority on a foreign account, you have to report that as a yes/no, and people have gotten in trouble on that. Now, what's all coming together in the big picture is FinCEN, which is the Financial Crimes Network, is gathering in the data on the foreign accounts, and now they're going to gather in the data on the Corporate Transparency Act, the beneficial operating reports we've talked about, the beneficial, ownership reports. They're called BOI. Those are coming January 1, 2024. So at the end of the day, there's just, again, a heightened amount of data gathering that we've talked about. So one of our big messages out there for our audience is the IRS is in a very active mode of gathering in more and more data off these tax forms. And yet, at the same time, I would argue the tax forms are becoming more and more electronic and hit a button.
Yeah, that's true.
So isn't it it's a little bit of a catch, right? If there's 50 questions on there, but you get your taxes done in a few minutes, how did you answer all those questions?
Yeah, that is a good question.
So I think our audience needs to kind of slow down when it comes to taxes and be very careful. I think that's the biggest takeaway right now is go very slow, especially with your crypto. Make sure you don't have the hard fork. Make sure you're not engaged in mining. The idea is that if you're in business and this is what you're doing, you then have all kinds of issues there. Are you in business like anyone else where you would have a Schedule C and maybe self-employment tax? So you've got that issue on top of that.
Well, people, they have to be careful. If they don't know something, either have a person or a CPA take care of their taxes, accountant, and if they're not sure about that, they have some doubt about other things, have a tax lawyer look over this.
Well, the tax lawyer would be important for the relationship. You were pointing out that the report on Chip Mixer, which was the company that investigation was done of, and crypto.
Recently on the news.
So that gets into a whole different issue, which would be a lawyer like myself coming in, which is, are you in something that has questionable underpinnings that might be involved in nefarious activities? You don't want to be in there either. One, you could lose your crypto investment in toto, but also just being involved in that, if in any kind of way, you're going to want to get lawyered up, as they say.
Can we give a brief about that thing that happened on the news?
Yeah, so crypto was in the news recently because Chip Mixer had been investigated, and there was a investigation that led to the taking down of the Chip Mixer, which is a type of crypto board that they had, and they came in and brought it down and indicted someone, I believe, for that. And so that is by all means an example of what we see, currently. Also, we understand that for the banks that have just run into some troubles, if the FDIC is looking at them and they're looking at a potential buyer of those banks to bail them out, they're apparently scrutinizing heavily whether that bank has any associations with crypto and whether they're going to prevent them from having those relationships going forward. In other words, a condition of buying out that bank is that they're not involved in the cryptocurrency, virtual currency market.
Even though the cryptocurrency has been out for a little while, but it's still new for people. People have to be careful.
Yeah, 100%. I think anything novel you want to be careful about, and anything that sounds too good to be true. We've talked about this.
Correct.
So the too good to be true might be someone says to you, you can do this and you don't have to report it for tax purposes. I think you always want to gut check that and make darn sure that statement can flush out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You heard him, folks. Be careful. Ask the expert. If you don't have an accountant, have an accountant if you need it. And if you need more help, ask a tax lawyer. Let him go through all your paperwork if you have complicated things, and it includes digital assets and cryptocurrency. You can call him at 877-647-7887. Again, that number is 877-647-7887. Or you can email him at stufts@cplspa.com, or you can check the website at privatecorporatecounsel.com, and you can find under professionals, you'll go to T. Scott Tufts, and if you have any questions, contact him. Thank you and have a wonderful day.